Hello, beautiful people. Today I'm going to share with you my top 10 literary fiction books. These are books that have stolen my heart or made me think in one way or another that I needed to share with you. If you are new to my channel, hi, I am April. You can think of me as your bookish fairy godmother. On this channel, my goal is to hook you up with your next 5-star read. And these are just a few of the 5-star reads living rent-free in my head. If you like what you see, hit the bell, subscribe, stay a while. We are starting out with one of my absolute favorite books of all time, and that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. In this book, we follow a woman without a name, and she lives in a society called Gilead, in which women have absolutely no rights over their bodies. This society has chosen select women who are most fertile and force them to have babies for couples, just for society at whole. This book really explores how women have very little rights and how they have had little rights over history. Nothing in this book that Margaret Atwood writes about she made up. She didn't make up a darn thing. She looked through the history books and saw it over and over again. This is a great time to read The Handmaid's Tale if you live in America. Their Eyes Were Watching God is next. This is by Zora Neale Hurston. I absolutely loved this book. This was one of my favorite books for many, many years. And this follows Junie, who is a Black woman living in the South. I believe it's in the 30s. I could be mistaken. And she has moved to an all-Black town. And I believe it's also the first Black town created in America. And she is trying to stand on her own 2 feet as a Black woman, which was not an easy thing to do then. And it is not an easy thing to do now. It just shows how much she is up against. And it explores her journey also through 3 marriages. Fascinating story. This is a book that I should absolutely reread. I don't know how I haven't reread this book yet. Maybe I'll get the audio or something because it was just so incredible. And towards the end, like I will never forget the storm that occurs towards the end. I was so nervous through it. It's just beautiful, beautiful writing and really fantastic book. The Little Stranger is next by Sarah Waters. This is a ghost story, and it's not at the same time. This takes place just after World War I, I believe, and we are following a family that live in Hundreds Hall. Now, someone has injured themselves at Hundreds Hall. I think it was a maid, and a doctor is called out. Now, the doctor is very familiar, I should say, with this family. His mom was, I believe, a maid there when he was little. So he remembers the house. He remembers like going to parties and being kind of in the background and as kids. And he sees it now kind of derelict, falling apart, and it is haunted. This book explores the fall of the aristocracy after World War I, and it is told through obviously seeing the house in derelict condition, but also through the haunting. I just thought this book was so poignant. It was honestly did scare me because you can take the haunting literally or as a symbol of the fall of the upper class and maybe the haunting of what the power that they once had, the riches that they once had. Or you can take it figuratively or literally. And I just adored this book. It was scary for me. So I remember I wasn't able to actually like read this when my husband went away for, I think he had to go out of town for some sort of work trip. And I knew I had to read it before he left because I would be too scared. But anyway, absolutely wonderful. I love Sarah Waters and don't know why she hasn't come out with anything in so long. It's been ages. The next book is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. This is another book that I should really reread because it meant so much to me when I read this. This follows a woman named Ursula. We meet her time and time again as she's living her life over and over again. So it's kind of sci-fi-esque, where she is born on a snowy morning and, you know, something will happen in her life. She will die, and then she's born again on a snowy morning, and you just follow the various iterations of her life. Now, this takes place just before World War II. I think she's born on 1918 or something like that. No, she's born on a cold and snowy night, I should say, in 1910. So that happens over and over again. It really explores how much control and how little control we have over our own lives. And we explore that through a woman living her own life over and over and over again. I loved this book for so many reasons. If you like historical fiction and want to dip your toe into like a bit of sci-fi, oh my goodness, please read this. Homegoing was an absolutely phenomenal book, and a book that I'd never read a book structured in this way. At the beginning of the book, you follow two sisters. One of them is married to a slaveholder. The other one is going to be sold as a slave and sent to America. This takes place in Africa, I should mention. Africa and then America. And you follow the children of these sisters. And every single chapter you are meeting a new descendant, and you get so tied to these characters. You're only with them for a chapter, but every time a chapter would end, I would just want to spend more time with them. I just think you have to master storytelling to do that. I also thought it was a beautiful book, a very bonding book for Black people to show how even through slavery, even through the absolute abuse that Black people have gone through all over the world, but like speaking to America at this moment, it shows that they are, you know, we're all one, and just shows how we are all one family. And I cannot give words to how incredible and beautiful this was. If you haven't read this, it is stunning. It is stunning, and you might cry. So get yourself a tissue. The Great Believers. This follows Yale in the 80s. He is a gay man living through the AIDS epidemic, and he is losing friend after friend after friend. This epidemic is spreading across the world, and he is terrified for his friends, terrified of contracting AIDS himself, and watching a society really not caring, really not investing their healthcare dollars into finding a cure for AIDS. And we also follow a woman, I believe it's 30 years later. Now, Fiona has lost her brother to this disease. Her brother was friends with Yale, so they were kind of in a similar circle. And it explores, as she's actually searching for her daughter through the streets of, I believe, Paris, it explores how the trauma of losing her brother comes up. I think she had pushed it down through all those decades. And it does pinpoint a pocket of time, but it shows that a pocket of time and what is done and the trauma experienced in a pocket of time, how that trauma can trickle through the years. And I just thought it was very heartbreaking, very, very heartbreaking. You become extremely invested in Yale. I loved him. And yeah, it was such an important book for the LGBTQ plus community, I think. I just loved it. Ah, yes, A Ladder to the Sky is next by John Boyne. This book follows an author who will really stop at nothing for fame, for Success. We follow Maurice at the start of his career in the 80s. This is almost like before his career. He meets a very well-known author named Eric Ackerman. He decides to kind of follow in Ackerman's footsteps, help him out, help him with publicity. Whatever Ackerman wants, Maurice delivers, until he starts taking content from Ackerman. He takes ideas from people around him. Essentially, he can write well, but he can't come up with any ideas on his own. So you follow him do that then and through his career. This explores themes of greed and a lust for power. And it's very much, in my opinion, an ode to The Picture of Dorian Gray, just a different form. There's vanity, and then there's greed for power and success. This is a book where you're going to be furious, I will tell you. No one hates Maurice more than me, potentially, unless you read it, and you might hate him more. So you won't love that character, but you might feel very tenderly towards the characters around him. So definitely recommend A Ladder to the Sky. The Nickel Boys is next by Colson Whitehead. This follows Elwood. He is a Black boy. I think he's 15 or 16 when he has done nothing wrong, but he is still sent to the Nickel Academy, which is where Black boys in particular, there are white boys in a different section of the grounds, but we follow Black boys going to this place to be, I don't know, worked on, find redemption, whatever it is for what they've done. Now, truth be told, these boys have done very little. Elwood has done literally nothing to be there. And this really explores how our society has treated Black boys and men with incarceration in one form or another. It explores, of course, how they were treated then, and also it hasn't stopped. It's not like this has stopped. These institutions might not exist anymore, but they just stopped existing very recently. So this explores that, and it also explores just the idea of there really isn't anything that any Black person could do to receive this level of punishment. Just the blanket punishment that is pushed on Black and brown bodies over and over again. It really explores that, especially at the end. You'll see Elwood didn't deserve it. None of them deserved it. And it just was so incredible. My jaw was on the floor at the end. This ending will make your, literally your jaw will be on the floor. My Dark Vanessa is next, and it's such an important book to me. This follows Vanessa, and we follow her in present day when she discovers that an old teacher of hers has been accused of sexual assault. Now, she, as a teenager, had a sexual relationship with him. In her present day, she doesn't really think of it as having been sexually abused, sexually assaulted by this man. Over the course of the book, she comes to see that what actually happened, what she thought of as a love affair as a child essentially, was actually sexual abuse. Now, of course, this explores the just horror that is sexual abuse and how it's not just damaging the child then, it literally damages the child throughout their lives. It is a trauma that, again, that lingers, and even with therapy, it still lingers. It was just, I think, it's the most important book on sexual abuse that I've ever read, because it really, I think, does honor to victims. There's so much that people don't know, where people think that victims should just immediately be against the perpetrator. But there's so much that they need to work through because of the grooming. They have to unpack all of that. And this shows all of that. And it just is so important. If you want to have an understanding of what it is to experience sexual abuse, this, I believe, is the book for that. Now, the last book, last but not least, is Small Things Like These. This is a tiny little book. You could read it in one sitting in an afternoon. Highly recommend reading this at Christmas time. This follows Bill in Ireland. He and his family are getting ready for Christmas. His job is to bring wood to the surrounding areas. And he brings wood one day to a nunnery. Is that the right word for it? In any case, he sees a woman really struggling. She's pregnant, and he knows that this is a place where unwed mothers are sent to have their children, give their children up, and go on with their lives. Now, he is quite disturbed by the treatment that she receives there, and so he's trying to figure out a way to help her. And this explores, of course, the church and the problems with power within a church and the damage that they can do. It explores how mindlessly people just go along with the social norm without checking themselves, without checking the power. And it explores Bill, whose own mother was a single mother. And he has very fond memories of his mother. And it explores him standing up for what is right. And it really asks the reader, what will you do with everyone else around you, even your own wife, saying, no, like those girls need to be there. That's the right thing for them. And there's no other way. And that's just how it's done. What would you do as a person to stand up for what's right, to think of a different way? I just loved this book. Again, small, short little things. She only writes short books as far as I know. They're all novellas and they all pack a punch. Every single one of them. It really is kind of crazy how she's able to make you care, how she's able to have such a statement with this book. And it's such a great book because it's also juxtaposed at Christmas. So there's this juxtaposition of the unwed mother, these motherly figures who are being treated so horribly, with the Mother Mary at Christmas, and how differently we treat these women. Incredible. I really want to see the movie that's come out. I think it should be on video soon, but anyway, I want to read it. I definitely want to see that. Those are all of the books that I wanted to share with you. These are my favorite literary fiction books at the moment. This might change. You never know. So let me know in the comments below. Do you read a lot of literary fiction? And when you do, or if you do, what is your favorite book in that category? I'd love to know, and I'll talk with you soon. Goodbye.